This is Served with me, Andy Roddick. Please hit subscribe. We drop new episodes every week. This clip's brought to you by ServiceNow. AI is only as powerful as the platform it's built on. With the ServiceNow AI platform, your AI, data, and workflows all work together, connecting every corner of your business. To see how you can put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com/AI-agents.
Next on Friday, we had an official decision come down on the Vondrousova matter regarding the incident from December in which she refused a test in her home in Prague, which, some would consider the evening hours. I think it was around like 8 o'clock on Friday. The ITIA published a 48-page ruling which confirmed the 4-year suspension of the 2023 Wimbledon champion, making it so she may not return to professional tennis until June 21st, 2030. Her defense essentially had 3 legs that were kind of all defeated. They were that the officer failed to properly ID itself, that she had an anxiety disorder, an acute stress reaction, and a fear for personal safety. The panel found that the departures from standard procedures didn't invalidate the violation, that the 4 expert medical witnesses that she called were not sufficient enough to support her anxiety and stress disorder claims. And finally, the fear of attack argument was undermined by the fact that she came downstairs with what herself she said was, quote, a not much scary dog, and signed some paperwork. And also there was a text message between her and her boyfriend showing that she recognized the person as a doping official. So the claims that she didn't know who it was were defeated there. She has 21-day window from now to appeal to the CAS, the Court of Arbitration Sport. That window opened July 21st, closes August 11th per the BBC. She is expected to file before the deadline. Nothing has been filed publicly as of the time of this recording. So the story's not over.
So and I need to lay on the sword here, when this first came out and I heard the circumstances around it, I had some sympathy for it, right? The way that Vondrousova came out and said it happened. Now, since then, as there's been more confirmations of more things and text messages and all this stuff, it seems like none of that stuff was actually the way it played out. Maybe it seemed a certain way to her. I can't speak for, what someone's feeling, but, saying that I didn't know who was at the door and then saying you recognize the person, saying that like I didn't, I was scared, but then coming outside with your dog and signing paperwork, and then being able to like walk away. That just doesn't, I just feel kind of ick about all of it, because I feel bad because, someone's career is like ending. And also, I don't know that she did much to help herself this night or since. The rules are the rules. I'll give credit to the ITIA. Like, we never agree all the time. We will, when we have questions about things, we, as a media entity, we will send questions to people and they will respond or not respond. And that's just the way it goes. We don't always know the answers when we ask questions. That's why we ask questions. That's why we ask people to confirm questions. That's why, we value their responses and are patient with responses. I'll say the ITIA always answers, always responds, and is, always upfront with what they're doing. In this case also, I won't bore you, but like, this is the text they sent to all the players with examples of questions, very thorough. So if a player doesn't know what happened in this case, it's purely because they're lazy and not reading what is sent to them at this point. Now, you may not agree with different sides of it, but if someone's about, I don't know, she should be this or this, read the shit, right? Mm-hmm. You may not agree with it, but they're nothing if not thorough and responsive. Right. And I wrote, when I wrote to them initially, I said, like, I'm concerned if you're knocking on someone's door at 11 at night and they don't know who the person is. I go, I have a fair amount of sympathy for this, especially given past things in women's tennis. Like, I get where she's coming from. And they said, we totally hear you. We totally understand. It's always going to be imperfect when we're trying to surprise people to get them for doping. That's part. They go, but like they fairly said that's kind of part of the equation. That's kind of part of the whole thing. If they know what's coming, it's easier to avoid. And that's tough to argue, but it's what happened in this case. Why is the sanction 4 years when the player did not test positive? And they go and explain their reasoning for all of these questions. What protocols do you have in place for testing lone females after dark? Like, they were responsive, thorough, and they're a responsible organization with the way that they go through it. Now, do you not like the thresholds for which they're testing for? Like, do we avoid the Sinner and Świątek stuff if we just don't test for, specks of sand in swimming pools? Sure. And also, I respect the way that they go about responding and the thought they put through. And I don't feel like they're just firing decisions without thought or irresponsibly. That's just not what's happening. So you may disagree with it, but they're nothing if not responsible and thorough, in my opinion, Mike. I don't know. I mean, you get the emails too.
I mean, the rule apparently that she got wrong and many of us, didn't understand. And this was something that the ITA had emailed to players exactly this thing in April of 2025. So about 8 months before the incident, apparently, that the testing pool for players is from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The 1 hour whereabouts window you file in the system is not a shield essentially for the testing, right? You're just telling them where you're supposed to be around that time. If they come later and you're not there, you kind of have that excuse.
It doesn't count as a missed test.
Yeah, you have that excuse of, well, I gave you a window earlier this morning. Yeah. I had a flight, right? So that's kind of okay, that's acceptable. We're going to find you wherever you are later. And it just tells the agency where to find you, right?
So if you're not home when they go to your home and outside of that 1 hour window and it's a missed test, it doesn't count as a failed test or a missed test. It's just they're trying to get you.
They're just trying to find you. Yeah, and that's where it is. And I guess there's a level of negligent, it's 2 years versus intentional, which is the 4-year ban, and so for them, the fact that she's done 83 tests before and not missed 83 tests, she was fully aware of the protocols, and to them, apparently between the Instagram post that night, the text to the boyfriend, the 83 tests done before, all pointed to kind of this intent, not accident. Which maybe made it the 4 years. It's a fucking mess.
I'll say, okay, so I gave the ITA the one, because we're in this was pointed out to me by someone who's super smart and relevant in the world of orbit of tennis and one of the kind of power players in the game. Because it is cheaper to be in Olympic protocols, right, at scale, but we always get these 2 and 4 year bans because they're on the Olympic scale also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, I don't know, I get it with why that's relevant for the Olympics, but why are we on a 4-year timeline with all of our decisions?
Yeah.
Or a decent amount of them. It's a detail. I don't like it. But props, because our goal when we email people and ask questions for stories is because we want to get it right. And I'd like to be smarter after having heard your answer and have less questions than I did when we sent them in the first place. And that is always the case when we email the ITIA and they say ongoing, we can't talk about it, or, decision should be coming, or this is the reasoning for why we said what we said. And hopefully these answers your questions a little bit. So I appreciate the back and forth, because then I can come on here and speak clearly to what the case is, what I got wrong, what I got right. And so I certainly appreciate that. And they're always professional in that manner. And when the Sinner shit was going on last year, they just came on and took the questions, which I also appreciated. They weren't hiding from their own opinions. So that was I enjoyed that. But unfortunate for Vondrousova, no one feels good when someone gets banned, and it seems like their reasoning is logical, at least at face value. And I was certainly one of the ones that thought the protocols were harsh when they happened. And it seems like the presented sequence of events from the Vondrousova side maybe weren't what were represented at first, which is disappointing.
And she still could appeal it, and maybe it could get reduced, right? It could get reduced down. I mean, even the panel itself, I believe in the document, wrote that they had every sympathy for her and called it a decision made in the heat of the moment, in a state of stress and anxiety. It's a 20-minute window that's going to affect her entire career. And that sucks. And it's not going to go away, but it will become less intentional.
The problem is that if you give a stress anxiety to someone who actually has it, then bad actors are going to take advantage of it, and it's just there's no perfect answer to this one.
It's a bummer.